We're spending clout and inviting our defeated enemies into our inner circle. That's right, it's Queen by Midnight by Darrington Press. In this raucous rumble of royalty, 3 to 6 players take on the role of princesses, each vying for control of the recently deceased queen's crown. Her dying wish? A trial of combat and guile where the most powerful princess remaining at the stroke of midnight wins the throne. Setup begins with the bazaar placed center and the clock placed atop it. Depending on your player count, set the clock hand to the appropriate hour. We're setting up for a 4-player game today, so we'll place it on the 2-hour. Next, separate and shuffle the bazaar cards into their 3 types: afternoon, twilight, and midnight, because princesses don't do mornings. Set the afternoon bazaar cards in a face-down deck on the bazaar deck space. Reveal the top 3 cards into the bazaar. Place the other 2 decks face down nearby. Next, determine who will be the first player by rolling the 2 dice into the clock tower. That's right, it's a dice tower as well. Turn the clock tower to face the first player and then choose a method of assigning characters. Either shuffle the princesses and randomly distribute 1 to each player because you don't get to choose your lot in life, or starting with the last player and proceeding counterclockwise, each player chooses 1 princess to play. Once chosen, each player takes the matching princess repertoire board, a health and clout tracker board, 1 marker for health set at 30, 1 marker for clout set at 0, 3 war chest cards set face up next to the bottom left of the board, 1 ultimate/inner circle card set to the far left with the ultimate side up, and 15 vault cards shuffled and set face down to the bottom right of the board. Reveal the top 3 into the vault spaces of the player board. A set of 10 princess starter cards shuffled and placed face down to the top left of the board. Then the player draws a starting private hand of 5 cards. Any player playing Freya will take the 24 Lash tokens, and anyone playing Rosalind will take the Trance token and Prophecy tokens. These are princess-specific pieces, so if those princesses are not in your game, just leave them in the box. Don't even touch them. Don't touch them. They're not yours. Before we charge on into gameplay, let's look at some of the components. We have general cards with a card type, buy cost in the top left, play cost in the top right, card class, either brawler, caster, or schemer, action text, and the card type, either attack, utility, boon, bane, summon, or reaction. The princess's repertoire board has a name, 2 classes, each with a major and minor value known as a level. Some game effects will raise or lower these values. Areas for cards, an armory along the bottom, 3 slots for vault cards, and some pretty wicked art. Like this, or this. Gameplay occurs in rounds, each divided into turns, starting with the first princess and proceeding clockwise around the table. On a player's turn, they may take numerous actions. Let's look at each of them in detail. Play cards. A player may play a card from their hand by paying its clout costs. Most cards are resolved by following their text, but some have a special rule or 2, like attack cards. In addition to the clout cost, these may have an optional cost to enhance an effect. The player chooses a target or multiple targets for the effect, after which one of the targeted players may choose to activate a reaction card in response, followed by any other players in turn order. More on reaction cards and how they work in just a sec. For instance, Home by Midnight says deal minor brawler damage to an opponent. If you damage an opponent with this card, you may refresh your vault. If the card can still be resolved, then apply the effect to all targets who didn't negate it. The card then goes to the active player's personal discard area, known as the archive. Many attack cards include a damage value equal to the player's class, either minor or major based on the card. Damage is dealt to health, and once a princess hits 0 health, they are eliminated. Summon cards. These companions are placed in a player's armory and given an amount of loyalty tokens when first played. Summons can be targeted by attack cards, but instead of taking damage to health or clout, they instead reduce their loyalty tokens by the damage number. When a summon reaches 0 loyalty, it's removed from the armory. Reaction cards. On the active player's turn, they may set a reaction card face down into their armory without paying its clout cost. Then, when a player or their summon is targeted by an opponent, they may select a reaction card already in their armory, then pay its costs and apply its effects. Afterward, it's discarded to their archive. Ultimate cards are powerful abilities that become available for purchase along with the princess's other war chest cards. In addition to playing cards, on their turn, the active player can also purchase cards, either from their own face-up vault cards or from the bazaar. After paying the buy clout costs, the player takes the purchased card and places it into their archive. As with most deck builders, once a player's draw deck is empty and they need to draw more cards, then their discard pile, the archive, is shuffled to form a new draw deck. Another action is to refresh their vault by spending 2 clout to place all face-up vault cards to the bottom of their vault deck and refill the spaces with 3 more cards. Or similarly, refresh the bazaar by spending 2 clout to place all the face-up cards in the bazaar to the bottom of the bazaar deck and refill with 3 more cards. Once a player is finished performing actions, they end their turn by drawing cards up to their hand limit, which starts at 5 at the beginning of the game. Then they rotate the clock tower to face the next active player. Once all players have completed a turn, advance the clock hand by 1. At a few hours o' the clock, certain events may occur. When the clock strikes 5, the afternoon bazaar cards are replaced with the twilight bazaar deck. Additionally, all players' hand limits are increased to 6 cards. Players draw the additional card at the start of their next turn. At 6, all princesses now have a discussion of allegiance. In case any of them are eliminated, they can choose to secretly declare one other princess as their liege by placing the corresponding declaration card face down on their player board. After a brief chat where promises do not need to be kept, players set their card and play continues. If at any point a player is eliminated and there is still more than 1 player left in the game, the eliminated player then reveals to whom they pledged their allegiance. If the pledged princess does not already have an advisor and isn't also eliminated, that player joins that princess's inner circle and becomes their advisor. More on that in a sec. At 8, the Twilight Bazaar cards are replaced with the Midnight Bazaar cards, and players may now purchase from their war chest cards and put on a fancy hat if they have one. The order doesn't matter for these cards, and they don't count as vault cards. Additionally, all players gain 3 clout at the start of their next turn. At 10 o'clock, it's officially past my bedtime, and all players' hand sizes now increase to 7 cards. When the clock strikes 12, the game ends. Alternatively, if at any time all princesses except 1 are defeated, that princess wins the game. But if the clock hand reaches 12, the victor is now determined by victory points. 1 point per clout, 1 point per health. The princess with the most points is crowned the new queen, regardless of how many teeth she still has. All right, I said I would come back and tell you more about the advisor role, so here goes. Princesses cannot decline a player's allegiance. Princesses can only have 1 advisor, and if a player reveals their allegiance and the princess who they have pledged to already has an advisor, then the eliminated player is knocked out of the game. The advisor then flips their ultimate card to reveal their inner circle card. Each inner circle card provides 2 possible abilities. During their future turns, the advisor must activate one of these abilities from their inner circle card. If the winning queen has an advisor, that player also wins the game, because otherwise, who's gonna tie your corset? And that's the basics of Queen by Midnight. I'm Becca Scott, this is Good Time Society, and you are welcome to pledge allegiance to me at any time. You can do so by subscribing to the channel, giving this video a like, and coming on back for more great games and good times. Adieu, my vassals.